Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. I wanted to do a video in regards to on my Facebook page. I quite often have my own Facebook page, personal one, and I also have the Truly Holistic one. And obviously, I kind of gauge what type of topics I'm going to talk about on either one. Obviously, a lot of the people that follow or have been clients here at Truly Holistic follow my Truly Holistic Facebook page, also my personal one as well. And so I know a bit of a gauge of what information I can put on either Facebook page. But occasionally I do like to start up a bit of interest or a bit of a conversation in regards to some controversial topics, and I did that yesterday in regards to my both Facebook pages, even my personal one. And I know my personal one, sometimes when I put some of that stuff down, you get a few bites as well. And that's great, because that was the whole purpose of it, was to get people thinking, and I love to hear people's comments about it, because I'm not here as an advocate to tell you everything. To tell you that I know everything. I don't. I'm just only a channeler of information coming through to me, and I like to share it with you, because it's interesting to see what everyone's perception or perspectives of that information is, and I learn a lot from you when I read your comments. So anyway, it was about calcium, and you would have seen from my last video here on also YouTube, or if anyone hasn't been on my YouTube channel, I did a video about looking at calcium in a different manner, not only as a mineral, maybe looking at it as, well, not maybe, but looking at it as an affection, having its own consciousness, because it's a little bit, it's different to all other minerals. There are a lot of problems associated with calcium, but at the same time, we're getting all this propaganda about eating more calcium, drinking more milk, all these sources of calcium, which, again, this is where this video is going with, is the whole thing, common sense. Using common sense is that if we just observe around us and use common sense, we'll realize that a lot of this information we're getting in propaganda is really not helping our health whatsoever. Okay, and getting back to people on my personal Facebook page, the discussion was based about that, and I really put it out there, and I didn't make sure that I said that it was my opinion and the information I was coming forth. But you always get people that say, where's the science to back that up? The scientifically kind of connected people. And hey, we've all been programmed, we've all been designed to go by science and say, well, what if science says this? We should just blindly follow that. Okay, even though they may say, okay, these studies, all these things to show us information, but for example, with calcium. You can look up information about the role of calcium, what it is in the body, but it's still not answering a lot of these questions that I find a lot of people aren't asking. Okay, and I guess that's a privileged place for me in the job I do here at Truly Holistic. This is a very open-minded system, and allows me to try and get answers to these questions that we can't solve. Okay, and is that me knowing everything? No, it's not. It's just more, my intent is that I'm a truth seeker, and I think there's more to the matter. Because when we look at calcium, and this could be to a number of other problems, for example, other controversial topics like cholesterol, and even the way that cancer is being treated, if we just look at health in general, all different avenues of life, but is that what we see around us is different. It doesn't connect up to the science that we're reading. Okay, and I don't know if there's anybody out there that has the same feeling as me. Is that, for example, it talks about roles of calcium and stuff, but every day, not only with clients and what I get with their health problems, but looking around people are suffering by build-up of calcium all around us. And I see that all the time. And I'm pretty sure, generally, if we just use common sense and observation around us, let's just push the science aside and just look with virgin eyes, that we can see the problem, the evident problem, that especially, we call it aging, okay? And that is chronological aging through the programming or the idea of time, is that we get more decrepit and we get tightened up, we lose our subtlety, we lose our flexibility, and that's just the body being riddled with calcification. Okay? People that are younger but they sustain an injury of some form, or it's not even that. For the autoimmune condition, say rheumatoid is just based upon calcification. Science or mainstream medicine will say, okay, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune condition, your body's attacking itself. But hey, that doesn't make sense. The body's intelligent. So the first question I say to that is, that does not make sense to me. Okay, science, mainstream medicine says that. But if we really look at that and actually question that instead of just blindly going by that information, it does not make sense, okay? And why would the body continue to attack itself? And what happens is scar tissue is created and calcification is created, and it deforms you. That's an infection, okay? That's calcium is an infection, it's not a mineral, okay? And at the same time, we're getting this propaganda, keep drinking more milk and more calcium, but if we used our eyes and we saw these health problems that are based upon calcification of calcium, I think we should be second guessing or questioning why we should be taking calcium on board as much as we are. So anyway, it was a great discussion, and that's kind of my answer to the people that were saying, well, where's the scientific proof? Where's the science about this? Is that a good question in regards to science is, there's good science, there's bad science. It depends on who's funding the science as well. I'm funding the scientific research as well, because there's a lot of business in regards to science, sadly. For example, let's look at modern medicine. Modern medicine, what's the chief treatment option for modern medicine is pharmaceutical drugs. Hence, all the science and the scientific studies that back their claim are all funded by the treatment option, Big Pharma. So why would they bring up research, want to research things that have nothing to do with their product? And that's what we have today. And people are saying that we should be basing our reality on science. We're basing our reality on money and greed, aren't we, by saying that? So I really think we can use science and scientific research, but at the same time we can't let it overpower our own judgment, our own common sense. Okay, and that's one thing that I regularly see. Like, I'm not some hippie spiritual guy here. I was a nurse for 13 years. I worked in the medical world, how they diagnose things, all the diagnostic proof, all the studies that they would have backing their claims of continually giving people pharmaceuticals to treat symptoms, not causes. Okay, and when we want to put questions out there, maybe calcium is an infection, maybe cholesterol is not the problem of heart disease, maybe chemotherapy, radiation is not the best thing for cancer, that is creating an open mind to look at other options. Because if we just use observation around us, and if cholesterol-lowering medication was, or high cholesterol, a bad ratio of HDL to LDL was causing heart disease, this theory has been in play for 60 years. If that really was the problem of heart disease, wouldn't you, by looking around, wouldn't you notice that there was no heart disease anymore? It was cured. But do we see that? We don't. Heart disease is just an epidemic, as it always does. So why would we continue using a theory that has been around for 60 years and it does not provide results? We don't need scientific studies for that. We can see that. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's what our science is providing us today. Okay? And I'm getting a little bit emotional about this, but I tell you, don't get me started. So there's more to it, okay? And the whole idea of cholesterol is, Is it found at the scene of crime? It is, but it's not the perpetrator. It's actually trying to patch your body up. Okay, but again, taking cholesterol-lowering medication is working on a symptom, but they're like with a flashlight, they're pointing it in the wrong direction. Okay, so of the problem, and again with heart disease, it's the common problem that I find here: inflammation, infection, calcification, always with all problems. And that's why we really need to look at this calcium thing in a different light. It's not only a mineral, there's something else going on here. We need to go, science is not the be all and end all. There are a lot of questions that are not answered. And actually science not even looking for the answers, especially if it's in the medical world. They're not looking for the answers, they're looking how to make more money. Okay? So, for me here, I want to ask the big questions because we need to find those answers. Because if we don't place our intent in those questions that we do not have the answers, what's the point of this, So anyway, that's calcium, cholesterol, and then even with cancer, certain cancers are easier to treat than others, but there's a lot of evidence to show chemotherapy, it's only got like 2.5% survival rate with chemotherapy. Now, we've had chemotherapy, we've had radiation, we've had surgical treatments for cancer for decades and decades. And do you know what? There's been millions and billions of dollars spent on cancer research. And it's all these people out there that work hard for their money, that are donating the money, and this money is not going anywhere. Again, using common sense, observation around, cancer is as big of a problem now than it ever has been. Okay, that's not science, that is just common sense. Okay? We need to really get out of the religion of science, okay? We really do. And I like to use the analogy, okay? If we're happy just to say, okay, we're going to go along with chemotherapy, 2.5% survival rate, and success of that of chemotherapy radiation is just terrible, okay? Because it's evident to see, because when people get that dreaded word of cancer, when they get diagnosed with it, what's the first thing that comes in their mind? Fear, because they know they're going to most likely die. Okay, that is just common sense, that they know that the treatments aren't very good, okay, and they're not very successful. Okay, so we don't even have to get into percentages of success rate. Now, if we use that analogy, say if you went to a mechanic to fix your car, and they said, I can only fix 2.5% of that problem, would you be happy with that? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't pay them for that job to be done. And plus, it would increase your rate of having a car accident. So why we stand up to that, because that's not good enough, but with our chemotherapy, our radiation, our treatments for cancer, we let that slide because science, we're going to support science. Science is doing the right thing. It's not, okay? It's a $1 billion industry, cancer itself, okay? It's sad, but we've got to be honest about this, okay? What else do I want to say? Now, like modern, what I see here at Truly Holistic, and again, do I have all the answers? I don't, okay? But one thing I do want to do is I'm not going to blindly go by science. I am going to ask the big questions. If things don't make sense, then I'm going to try and allow the information to be found to then make sense to me and share that with other people. And then it's your own, that's my opinion, okay? And then you can take that on information. If it gives you truth, great. But if not, I'd like, discussion is great as well. But just to say, just look at the science. Where's the scientific proof? It's just, there's no backing behind that. Now, here at Truly Holistic, I'm using geometry, right? Pointing geometry at the camera with my client sessions for people on Skype. Majority of people all around the world, I'm using my intent, and they're finding a vibration, like I'm working on their legs, all of a sudden their legs, they can feel vibration, heat sensation through the legs, things are shifting and changing, pain being removed. Now, science doesn't back that up, but lo and behold, they're feeling that, they're getting results. But there's no science to show that. It's because, it's not part of this agenda of science, okay? It's not found in science, but there's more things beyond science, okay? It's just, instead of looking at what's normal or abnormal, there's just what is, okay? And that's just being conscious and present in the moment, and just using common sense and observation. If I'm feeling something changing in a place where I'm directing energy to, then that's observation that something's happening. I'm not going by science or the way that somebody's interpreted it or put it into a scientific study. It's just what is. But we have to get out of this whole idea, because the only reason we want to ask these questions and find these answers because we want to know the cause of the problem, not the symptom. Okay? And we have to ask some really big questions, and we have to step out of that box, essentially, really, and put ourselves into a different scenario to try and place the intent of that question out there to the universe to get the answer, and then try and make some sense of it, because everything is common sense. I like to use the analogy of the way that we're treating problems now is a symptom approach. We're not looking at the causes. Pharmaceutical drugs option and modern medicine option, majority of the time, is just treating symptoms and saying, oh, your blood pressure is good now, everything will be all right. No, your blood pressure was high because the body's trying, or you've got pain in a certain area of the body because your body's trying to tell you something's not right. It's trying to communicate to you. Then when you take a pharmaceutical, you're dumbing your body's ability to communicate to you. It's not very smart, is it, really? Is there a place for pharmaceuticals for a short-term use if you're stuck in a scenario or issue? Yes. But it's not intelligent. It's not an intelligent way of treating disease and finding the cause of disease. I like to use the analogy of the symptom approaches. If you're driving your car and then the check your engine light comes on, or your car engine light comes on, or the light in your car comes on to you need more petrol, do you just put a band-aid approach on that and ignore it? No. You realize that car needs petrol, so you go and get petrol. Okay, you know that this car isn't going to function if it doesn't have petrol in it. It's not going to run. Okay, but we do that every day with our health in regards to a modern medicine approach or a symptom system by using that band-aid approach. And eventually that will bite you in the ass one day, and it will come back even worse. Maybe cancer, maybe a heart attack. Listen to your body. Anyway, I thought I'd do this video, and I hope you've really enjoyed this video. It's definitely got some things off my chest, and I wanted to share it with everybody, a little bit more of an idea of these things. We have to use a common sense approach and use our observation, and don't let science kind of stop that part of yourself being at the forefront of how you see reality and what's happening, especially in regards to health. Bye.